Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dude, Where's My Startup? I am with Joao Machado, Head of Marketing and Growth at Humanity Protocol, the identity protocol that's set to underpin the future of identity with human fingerprint. We'll be talking Sam Altman's weak spots, lessons learned in heading up growth functions, and how to scale Web3 companies.
Hello, Dan. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Excited for this conversation. Let's do it.
Tell us about your journey into Web3, particularly from your social impact background.
So to be honest, it's gonna sound like a little bit cliche, but I figured out that I really wanted to work and to be part of this industry. When I had the time to read the first pages of the Bitcoin white paper, and I'm just saying that also because you just mentioned the social part, right? And I really believe Web3 blockchain is going to have a huge purpose for society and for the world. I mean, the values, financial freedom, financial justice, anti-corruption, all that stuff, decentralization. So those are values that completely resonate with me. And yeah, so it's something that I really believe that should be implemented in society. It should be mandatory for everyone. And yeah, so this at the same time, as you know, it's super exciting to work in crypto, right? I mean, every day it's a new day. Normally, I say that 7 days in crypto equals 7 years in a normal industry. So it's just like believing that we are building something bigger than us while having fun at the same time with this crazy world.
And you are a founder yourself. You are currently building AI-powered kind of shower technology. Can you tell us a bit about that and any of the learnings that you've taken into being a head of growth?
So yeah, on the first side, so regarding Savearth, what we are actually doing, as you said, we are developing an AI solution that helps hotels to decrease the shower consumptions and therefore shower costs. And shower costs, just for you to be aware, it's not just the water; it's even more, it's mostly actually the cost of electricity or gas that it's used to get the warm water. Okay. And what we are actually trying to do here, it's not changing infrastructure, it's not like changing what hotels already have. What we are actually trying to change is where I believe it's the source of the problem, which is people's behavior. In this case, guest behaviors. Okay, and it's been a hell of a ride as well, mostly because it's a IoT and AI company, so that means there's hardware involved. I think hardware has its pros and cons. So of course we need more. We need to raise more money since since a more early stage because there's product development, hardware manufacturing, all that stuff. But at the same time, it has its pros. So I really believe that because it's something tangible, something that people can see, can touch, it's easier to aggregate for more value, or it's easier to have a bigger perception of value, you know. And then as well, after you implement or install these hardware solutions in a client, in a customer, normally it's more difficult to lose that customer. Okay, if you do a good job as well. But also, and if I may, because we are living in the area of AI, and I mean AI agents, it's all over the place. I think because of AI agents, and I was actually in an event with a couple of investors yesterday, and there was a really interesting discussion there in which, so in the last couple of years, investors they were run away from hardware projects, okay, and focus more on software because easier to scale. Actually, now the thing is changing again. Why? Because with AI agents, it's so easy to create a software, an app like a SaaS. So there is no more. I mean, what will be like a state of the art before? Now it's easy with an AI agent to create in a couple of minutes or in a couple of days, right? So they are going back to hardware because that's where they see that there's art, there's actual human beings involved in creating, in crafting. So yeah, that it was a really interesting trend that apparently is coming, and that supports our business case, of course. Regarding your second question, which was growth, right? I think growth it can mean a lot of different things according to your company, to your business model, to your goal, whatever it is. But I think it's super clear since the beginning. Understand what's the North Star, right? Because there's a lot of noise. You always have a lot of different things trying to steal your attention. I think focus on what are really the most important KPIs, what actually brings value to your company, to your project. It's really important, because if you kind of lose the focus on focusing other KPIs, other metrics that perhaps you're not even ready to measure them, right? You're going to lose the momentum. And in a startup world, being agile and super objective, I think it's a secret sauce, to be honest. Because that you either build a startup in a couple of months, maximum 1 year, and if you don't succeed, you'll probably not. It will probably not survive much more time.
So there are many aspects to growth. So what does the role actually mean? I've seen head of growth as it's almost become a title that's kind of grown a lot, almost like DevRels have grown as like a new kind of title. What does head of growth actually mean? Are there any differences between Web 2 and Web 3 that you're seeing in this role?
I mean, first of all, there's a lot of difference from Web 2 to Web 3, but not only in growth, in everything. I mean, it's it's still a new industry. It's still a small industry. It's still a niche. People here are different people. Like the target, the users are completely different people from the Web 2 users, and the platforms, the channels are not the same ones as well. So traditional marketing here just doesn't work, okay? And you always have to think outside of the box in the new disruptive way, which it kind of is what the industry also is, right? So you need to be in alignment with that. But regarding your other question, what does a growth marketing manager, head of growth, and then why there was a rise of these roles in the last couple of years, is totally related with the startup world. So if you have a traditional company, probably you will not have someone for growth. You'll have someone for marketing, traditional marketing. But on startups, I mean, you have different stages of a startup, right? You are a startup, and then you convert to a scale up, etc., etc. And so the growth roles, they come from the need that startups have in scaling, in growing really, really fast. Okay, so there has to be someone completely focusing on just bringing or increasing KPIs that are completely directed with growth. That can be revenue, that can be customer acquisition, that can be, for example, in a lot of crypto projects, the activity on the network. Okay, so while a traditional marketing people, it will be doing communication, long-term strategies, something that is more related with traditional marketing. A growth marketing people, it's super focused in these KPIs that make a startup, most of the case, to scale really fast. Because once again, that's how the startup world works. You either grow in a really fast way, or you're probably going to die, or someone will catch you.
So what is the single superpower that someone needs to excel as a head of growth?
Growth hacking, I will say. And that means try to do a lot with almost nothing. Try to think, try to be disruptive. I mean, think always outside of the box. Try to come up with strategies, with initiatives, with actions that are completely are so crazy that they will work. Okay, I think that's what actually companies and even more startups are looking for. Someone that can be super creative and come out with these strategies that will provide a huge impact to the startup, to the project, without actually needing a huge investment.
Like resourcefulness, but being creative with that at the same time.
Finding the gold pipe where no one is actually seeing it, finding the break, that sweet spot, that okay, there's an opportunity here. I need to take advantage of it ASAP. And mostly for most of the times, in order to find those actions, find those gaps, you need to think, okay, where, first of all, who's my target? Let's be clear, who's my target? And it needs to be super clear to everyone. And when I mean what's my target, it's who's my persona and who's my priority, because you can have a lot of different personas. You need to understand who's going to bring more value to your project with less effort, right? And so after that, after it's super clear for you, where can I find them? How can I reach them in a personalized, contextualized way, so that they will resonate with my message, with my communications, and there will be a huge reply rate and not just almost zero conversion rate, right? And then just be creative and understanding how can you reach out to these guys in those ways, following that reasoning.
For you, what's been the hardest lesson that you've learned for succeeding in your role in head of growth? What's been that like? Have there been any critical lessons or periods in your life, in your career, that you look back on and go, that was pivotal for my learning?
Yeah, there were a couple of campaigns that I was super excited. I was 200% sure that they were gonna work. They were gonna deliver huge impact, huge results for the projects that I was working on. But then it didn't happen, and that happens because sometimes you forget that you're so deeply involved on the projects that everything for you makes sense. Everything it's super easy to understand, and you forget that perhaps people that are not inside the project, which normally it's your clients, it's your potential customers, they will not understand so easily as you do. And it's normal. I mean, we are working with these projects every single day, every hour. So for us, it's super easy. But we always need to think that perhaps where it makes total sense for us, it will not make sense for someone, or not, at least will not make sense so easily for someone else outside of the project. And so what I'm trying to say this is, like, we put a lot of effort, a lot of resource, a lot of time on these campaigns that I was, again, really sure that we're gonna work, but then we fail. And the learning here, it's perhaps two main things. First of all, always test. And I mean, before you go big, make sure you test the hypothesis. It's gonna make sense. You have a principle of something that is gonna work here. But then the second one will also be, don't forget that you're communicating to people that are not so deeply involved with the project as you are, and therefore perhaps you should ask them a small group if it makes sense for them as it makes sense to you. And so if you test and the results are not that good as you were expecting, and then if you talk with someone outside of the company and I don't think that makes sense, they told you that, perhaps you need to rethink and take one step back and not waste more time with this campaign or with this strategy.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant lesson that any founder, manager, anyone can really, I think, kind of empathize and understand truly themselves, because we have that as well at Calyptus. Often when you launch features, and it's the case that there is too much noise. People can't take in everything that you as a person in the project know and understand, and it has to be bite-sized and it has to be simplified. So yeah, that validated learning and messaging is like critical. I think that's an awesome lesson.
And the sooner you fail, the sooner you learn. And there are actually companies that have like this growth department already so involved, in a such level that they even measure the frequency of the tests. So because they want to be super agile, they want to try stuff really fast, to learn fast as well. They even measure the frequency and the speed in which they are implementing new tests every day, because it's important for them to try out new stuff, new hypotheses every day, the fast as they can.
I love that. A KPI, which is the frequency of failures.
Yeah.
Because most of the time they will be failures.
Exactly.
So tell us more about Humanity Protocol. What is it and why is it important?
So we are solving a huge problem that I think most of the society hasn't realized so far, which is digital identity or identity as a whole. Even more now with the rise of AI, all those deep fakes, bots. I mean, if we go to Twitter today, let's be honest, like perhaps 40-50% of the accounts are bots. And we are reaching basically to a one point in which I think, in my perspective, our identities are at stake. They are in danger, and the trust that we can have on the web, it's also jeopardized, because if I go, for example, again to Twitter, if almost half of the accounts are bots, I don't know who I can trust, right? Because bots are the ones that spread fake news. They have other interests, in the bad actors with interests behind them. So what we're actually trying to solve is this huge problem of identity, and we are doing that by taking biometrics on chain, and making super easy for first to someone to prove that they are a real human being. Okay, and we can do that in an easy way, just with a palm scan, a less intrusive and creepy way comparing to the iris scan. But that's just the first part. That's just the key, because after you prove that you're a real human being with your palm, what we can actually do is add what we call verifiable credentials on top of your palm, so that can be your QIC details, your passport details, your medical records, etc., etc. So that you, besides proving that you're a real human being, you can also prove that you are who you claim to be. Okay, so the first stage we were super focused on proof of humanity, but now we evolve and now we are more a proof of identity solution.
And of course, we have the likes of WorldCoin, Sam Altman, the creepier retina scan. Where do you think Sam Altman and WorldCoin are getting it wrong? Where is Humanity Protocol changing the game?
I mean, first of all, I think they, in my perspective, they were not super clear since the beginning. They were collecting, storing the data. I mean, I don't. They are a huge company. They have millions of users. But on my view, I don't agree also the way they are just implementing the UBI. Okay, I'll tell you why. So yes, they have 6 million or 7 million users, right? But from what I've seen, were mostly people that went to those lines to scan their iris just to get the token and then to sell it because they needed the money. I'm sure that if they share with us the demographics of their users, it will mostly be from countries that third world countries, right? Where $5 for me and for you, perhaps it's not a lot, but for these people, it's a lot of money that can change their lives or their daily lives, right? And so what I feel here is that they gave an incentive, but perhaps a wrong incentive, because yes, again, they have the users, but are they active users? Are they using the app every day? Are they going to aggregate value to the project? I don't think so, but perhaps I'm wrong. We at Humanity Protocol, perhaps, I mean, besides doing the collection and the storage of the data in a completely different way, we are not like telling people, hey, just give me your identity because I'm going to give you a couple of bucks. We're not doing that. But I'll say the biggest difference. I mean, first of all, if we want, in my point of view, if we want to reach mass adoption, my mother, she will never scan their iris, but she'll probably scan her palm, right? So palm scan is, in our perspective, it's a much more easier, user-friendly, scalable biometrics way. But then, of course, we also realize the importance on how we process the data and how we store the data since the beginning. And for that, of course, we are implementing our residual knowledge proof technology. Because to be completely honest, if when we are talking about personal data, individuals' information, right? Your biometrics, and if we don't use ZK for these type of situations, in my perspective, we are just one more Facebook or Google of this world in which we are getting all this data from individuals, right? So I think ZK is one of proof. It's really important for this type of use cases, and that's why we are implementing it since day one.
And how does it work in terms of the process? So do you have to set up events for people to come to scan their fingerprints? And then what happens next? Like, are you embedded into applications directly? Like, what as a user, can you tell me the end-to-end process of experiencing Humanity Protocol from start through to actually application?
Of course, but just to clarify, it's not fingerprints; it's palm print. Okay.
Palm prints.
Yeah. What we actually do then we do palm print and a scan of your veins as well, so that we have because if we had the palm to the veins, it's actually even more accurate than fingerprint. And so regarding the user experience, right? So you come out to Humanity Protocol, you join, for example, at this moment, our testnet, where you create your human ID. And in a couple of weeks, we are going to launch the Palm Scan app, okay, in which you're going to be invited, now that you have a profile on Humanity Protocol, to prove that behind that profile, there is a real human being. And you're going to do that by downloading our app and scanning your palm with your phone, okay? After that, we will also open our operation hubs across the globe in the next couple of months as well, where we'll be trying to reach a broader audience, invite them to be part of Humanity Protocol, as well as presenting the scanners, the devices where we can scan their veins. Okay, and then after you join this world, where you have a profile with that has a verified human being behind it, the use cases the number of use cases is almost infinite. I mean, for example, my favorite one, at least on the Web3 space, which we call fair drops. Not airdrops, because the airdrop model today is kind of broken, right? I mean, you take the snapshot, you have 100,000 users, you don't have 100,000 users. What you have is 100,000 wallets. Guys with 20, 30 wallets that are just trying to farm the token and literally dump it after the TG. So with this technology, you have one wallet, one palm, one human being, one reward, and it's a much more fair model for projects. If we go to the Web2 space, again, on Twitter, the same way we have the blue or the gold chips, which everyone can pay for them, right? There should also be like a human chip, just right at your profile name, right? Some type of tag that proves, okay, this Twitter profile has a real human behind. So I can actually trust the type of content that he shares, because I know it's not a bot, okay? But if we go to even to the offline world, access control, for example, we've just implemented a couple of devices in an hospital in Hong Kong, where doctors are using their palms to access to sensible areas, okay? Even payments. Imagine that you forget your wallet, you forgot your phone, you want to make a payment. Usually you use your hands. You say hi to the device, and with your palm you can make payments. There's a lot of other ones then, to be honest. And that's why we are super excited to develop this solution. And I think that's why actually the industry is also super excited with us, because they can see the potential reach of Humanity Protocol and the impact, of course.
So yourself as head of growth, then, it's really interesting to think about what the user acquisition channel is, because is it the case, therefore, that say you would go through Twitter if you've got them as a client, and then Twitter then asks all users, please download this app, use this app to scan your palm? Is that your way to acquiring users, or do you go directly to the end user first? It'll be really interesting to unpack that.
Okay, so we have today around 4 million users on testnet. Okay, and the way we build this, I think first of all was by making it super clear what's our solution, and we can do that by also making it easy to understand what problem are we solving. Okay, so that people really can really understand what's in game here, what's at stake, what's the impact that we are actually bringing to the industry. After that, of course, we work as well a lot of our awareness, top leadership, people really started to have the humanity protocol at their mindset as one of the main projects that we're going to solve decentralized identity, right? DYD. And then after that, I mean, people already knew us. People already were in knew the importance of the project, and therefore they started to follow us. And then it's actually a snowball effect. People start commenting, people start sharing our content with others, texting a friend, hey, have you seen this project? This is going to be huge. And then so basically we create this credibility that people really understood that humanity protocol, first of all, it's needed for the industry, and it's solving a huge problem. And then of course we work with a lot of KOLs. KOLs that are in alignment with our thesis. We are not just like a meme coin project, so we cannot work with any type of KOLs that really understand and do the research and explain to the community what are we actually doing here. Then of course our testnet, we use the referral method, where of course we try to incentivize users on inviting friends, increasing the community, bringing others, and make the humanity protocol family a huge family. And yeah, I think something that we also prioritize since day one was community. We know the importance that it has for Web3, and so we put a lot of effort, a lot of love on taking care of our community, making also them happy and helping us reaching others. And I think that was the most important thing to reach the numbers that we have today.
Last question. This is a hot topic all over crypto Twitter. The Web3 marketing problem. You know, it's hard to get right. It's a tough nut to crack. What is your hot take on where Web3 marketing is going wrong, and how can we fix it?
Perhaps I'm going to talk. I'm going to speak against myself, but I think we are starting to give a lot of importance to KOLs. I think some projects are actually being taking custody from KOLs. Some projects are super depending on them. You know, I mean, I understand the importance of people of following someone that they admire, that they think it can share valuable content with them and trustworthy content. But I think we're passing that stage, that level, which is not already healthy for the industry. You know, there should be other ways to communicate with users, and for them to also to communicate and to follow projects, right? Because in the end, KOLs at this stage, they are just being a bridge between the project and the final user, or the user that they want to reach, right? So there should be a better way. I'm not saying that we should get rid of KOLs. No, I think we should work with them. But at this stage, I don't think it's healthy anymore, the way that projects are super depending on KOLs.
KOL over-reliance has to go.
Exactly. But I mean, I think, to be honest, and I think it's part of the natural process that the crypto industry is going through, which is, again, we're still a super new industry, right? We are still trying to figure out what's the playbook here, right? What's the good practice? If someone tells you that that's how you should do, I'm going to be honest, Dan. Perhaps he maybe he's right on that day, but perhaps the next day he's already wrong, right? Because everything is changing in a such fast way. I think we will figure it out. We'll figure out what are the best ways, not only for project but for users and for everyone in the industry, on how we can actually do marketing and other type of strategies on the space.
I think rounding up what you've said in this whole talk is like just having the agility as a head of growth to see those trends, to be creative, and to be not scared of failure and to be iterating as much as possible. Because as you said, it's brand new as an industry. It's always moving, which means you have to be always reconsidering all of your theses and hypotheses that you've once set, because you never know next month if it's going to change. So always being on the ball. And yeah, I think that's probably the excitement and the brutality of the industry in itself.
Yeah. If you want to work in crypto, be ready for it, because it's going to be tough.
Awesome. Well, Joao, thank you so much for coming on. It's been incredible learning more about your experiences in crypto and Web3 and in growth. And yeah, hopefully get up soon.
Thank you so much for inviting me. See you next time.